back from top of the wall. My name is Mason Knopp, and this is another deck tech. We have Good Spirited, Spirit Tribal essentially in Standard. And what we're running here is we're running a deck that is more so trying to aggro everyone out. It feels a lot like a deck that tries to gain tempo advantage very rapidly while having a lot of spell backup to protect the things that you need that are essential. The deck is built around Supreme Phantasm, and also where is it? Where's the bird? Oh, Imperium Eagle. These are Lord creatures. These give all of our spirits or all of our flying creatures +1/+1. And if you noticed, all of our creatures have flying, or are spirits, or are both. Fairy Miscreant is the only non-spirit creature in the deck, and I think the only aside from Warrant and Warden, it is the only non-spirit creature that we have access to, and it is actually very strong. It's just a flying man normally, but if we can draw into another one, which a lot of times we can play the second one and draw a card off of that, which would be a 2-for-1, plus just 1 mana for a creature that can get buffed by our other Lord, will actually give us a 2/2 flying creature for 1 mana, which a lot of times now you would actually have to pay for 3, which would be a Wind Drake essentially. Now we do have a technically 9th Lord, but he's not really a Lord. He puts a +1/+1 counter on up to 2 creatures, so we can choose some of our smaller creatures, we can choose one of our tokens, we can choose whatever we want, and it does buff our team, and over time it can hit all of our creatures, and it does increase power and toughness, but it also, the important part is that it can return some of our lords from the graveyard to the battlefield, or any of our creatures that we like. So it's a second use out of a lot of our creatures and near the top of our curve, which we don't really want to play this at the top of our curve. We'd rather hold up spells, and we'd rather just leave this behind, wait for some of our creatures to die or trade or whatever, bring them back later. We're hardly ever going to use the emblem, but at the beginning of your end step, you create 3 1/1 cat creature tokens with lifelink. Oh, hey, that's right. Technically, we do have access to those, but those don't really count because it's a Planeswalker Ultimate that's very unlikely to get. For smaller creatures, I did mention Fairy Miscreant, but the 1-drop that we're going to be hoping for the most often is Spectral Sailor. That is the one that really can help this deck go much faster, really accelerates us, and really does a lot for us. It is a source of card draw, so we can pump mana into it at instant speed, so we can hold up mana for our removal spells, and we can actually just choose, alright, well, we didn't use any of our removal spells, so instead we're just going to draw a card on our opponent's turn. Now, we also have, for removal, Hanged Executioner, which you can pay 3 and a white, exile it, exile target creature, which does counter as removal. It is a 1-for-1, but it also creates a 1/1 flying spirit token when it enters, so technically it's still a 2-for-1 because it leaves a body on the field, and also it still gets pumped. Now, we also have Remorseful Cleric, which exiles all cards from target player's graveyard. Very strong, just good incidental graveyard hate. Main deck, never a bad thing to have just incidental good stuff floating around your deck that also works with your tribe. Now, where was it? Our instants are Dovin's Veto, which is 2 mana for an uncounterable negate. I'm surprised it hasn't seen a little bit more play in Standard. It's a lot of 1-ofs in a lot of the decks, but there's not a lot of must counter non-creature spells, I suppose, in the format at this time. There's no Aetherworks Marvel Aetherworks or anything like that going on. We also have a Settle of the Wreckage, just main deck, to get rid of some creatures that might be attacking us. Gruul is kind of a rough matchup for us because they outclass our creatures rather quickly. We also have a Spell Pierce just floating around, so we can surprise our opponents and just pick off a spell out of nowhere for 1 mana. We also have 2 unsummons, to help gain us more tempo advantage, along with the Spell Pierce, along with Dovin's Veto and the Wrath Spell. Now, for our Warrant and Warden spells, it does say sorcery, but remember, Warrant is an instant speed card, and you can put a target creature or target attacking creature or target blocking creature on top of its owner's library. This is still card advantage. I am paying 1 mana. I'm paying 2 mana to put a creature that my opponent has on top of their library. So they will be skipping their next draw, essentially. They will just be seeing a new card. They will not be seeing a new card. They will be seeing the same card. They're not getting access to more cards. It is a 1-for-1, technically, with tempo advantage gain in our favor. Or it can make a 4/4 Flying Sphinx with Vigilance. It's more of a desperation thing when we have Warden out. It's not something that we're particularly looking to do, but it's available to us. We have Winged Words, which is essentially divination, but if we have a flying creature, it costs 1 less. 2 mana, draw 2 cards. It's good. It's good. I just wish we could get it down to 1 mana. Can't get it down to the 1 mana. We have Favorable Winds as actually our 10th and 11th lords. They give all of our creatures with flying +1/+1, which is all of our creatures. And let's see, we have Teferi Time Reveler, another card that can get us tempo advantage. We really just want to play him for 3 mana, bounce one of their cards, and then draw a card off of it. It is essentially a repulse, for the most part, is usually what we're going to do with it. But it can also pick up a couple of enchantments or a couple of artifacts that might be a little bit large or might be worth it. We're just looking to try to get a repulse off and potentially a second one if we can defend him and play his second ability again. The giving sorcery speed to all of our giving us instant speed to all of our sorcery cards is kind of just like there. We don't really want it. We only have a few of them. We're not looking for it. The only 2 that we really care about casting are Winged Words. But the important part about him is his static ability. Each opponent can only cast spells anytime they can cast a sorcery. So that means Settle the Wreckage only works one way. It doesn't work against us. They can't cast it during combat. You only can cast instants during... you can't cast sorceries during combat, and you can't cast them on their opponent's turn. So when we get to attack with our creatures, they cannot settle us. Settle doesn't work. They have to choose a different Wrath spell, which is very, very powerful and very good for us for a lot of matches up well against a lot of white decks. A lot of white decks are packing the Settle the Wreckage, and this is a really good reason why Teferi Time Reveler is good right now. I don't know what's going to happen after rotation, if there's going to be another instant speed white removal spell that's worth keeping Teferi around for. Now, for our mana base, which, it's the best part about every deck, the mana base. We have 4 Glacial Fortresses, 4 Hallowed Fountains, which is the white-blue Shockland and the white-blue Buddy Land. So if it sees an island or plains, it enters untapped, pay it 2 life, shock ourselves. This becomes untapped. We have 7 islands, 4 plains, and we have 2 Field of Ruin, 1 Detection Tower, and 1 Blast Zone. The Detection Tower helps us hit creatures that have hexproof. The Field of Ruin helps us pick off anything weird, like something that we might not like, or we may see that our opponent is particularly short on one color, or they're really hungry for one color in particular. We can just sort of, if we have extra time or just a little bit extra mana, and we think that this is a better option than using Spectral Sailor to draw a card, we can go ahead and do that. And we also have 1 Blast Zone to pick off the small creatures and to try to pick off anything like... there's a ton of 2 mana mana dorks right now. So this card is actually very strong against them. To be able to just put charge counters on them at instant speed. Next time when we untap, pop it, kill everything. Works pretty well for us because we can control where and when it hits and pops. So if we see that they have something particularly strong, a bunch of 1-drops, or a bunch of 2-drops or a bunch of 3-drops, we can attack with ours, get as much value out of ours as we can. Like, we can exile our Hanged Executioners and then try to pop the Blast Zone after we've already gotten in our damage and after we've done what we wanted. Then we can pop it off. Remember, it does hit our Planeswalkers and does hit our enchantments. So it can be a little rough for us, but I think that the one is just fine there. Now for our... yeah, this is the part that I get stuck on. The sideboard. Right, I'm a competitive player. I know what that is. Aether Gust. 1 blue instant. Choose target spell or permanent that's red or green, and put it on top of its owner's library. Remember, what I did say before is that cancels out one of their draws. They are not seeing a new card. They're not getting access to more options. This is a kind of attrition, and it does count as tempo loss. And this is a way for us to get rid of some of the harder red or green permanents in like Rule. Pick up a Domri Raid. That's something red? Yeah. To just pick one of those up, put it on top of their library. We also have an Ajani, Adversary of Tyrants. This guy does actually do a lot of work for us in the grindier games, and Disdainful Shrug just picks up some of the bigger cards that we may have to deal with late game, that we might have a little bit of trouble getting around or dealing with. Just an extra thing to help pack a punch. We have Disenchant to pick off stray artifacts or enchantments. We have Dovin's Veto for more non-creature spells. We have an Eternal Isolation to get rid of the big creatures in Grawl again, or just like floating around like a Doom Whisperer, or just any kind of random demon or giant or whatever floating around. Is that blue Leviathan still being played? No, it's not being played in Standard. Oh, I can't pick up the Leviathan. It can pick up other things, though. Leyline of Sanctity, I do have 4 of in this sideboard. I really like Leyline of Sanctity in Modern, and I do like it in a lot of matchups, actually. Particularly formats where Burn is good. And Burn is a tier 1 deck right now. So in Standard, I think the 4 Leyline of Sanctity are perfect against Burn, because it turns off about, let's say, Shock, Wizard's Lightning, Lightning Strike. It turns off Fanatical Firebrand's ability. It turns off some of their Planeswalkers. It turns off a lot of their sideboard. Turns off a lot of the things that they want to hit us in the face with. So this seems particularly powerful to just have a Leyline of Sanctity in. And then we have 2 more Settle the Wreckages, which is very strong against the aggro matchups and very strong against creature-heavy matchups. Because when they attack back, we can usually tempo them out, pay 4 mana, get rid of multiple of their cards, get rid of those cards that they spent a lot of mana on. So we can usually break even on this, getting rid of more cards than we spent and getting rid of more mana than we spent. And that is the deck. And if you want to see anything else built, or you particularly like anything in Standard, or you just want to see something beaten, or want some advice on how to beat something, or want to see me stream anything, let me know in the comments below, or find me on tappedout.net. Tappedout.net, you can actually comment on a lot of the videos. And don't forget to like, subscribe for more if you would like to see anything. Have a nice time coming in for that face touch.